Welcome to the Jill on Money Show. It is Sunday, April 7th, and today we're giving you another little taste of what it's like to be a member of Jill on Money Live. That is our subscription service that provides you with access to quarterly live webinars and more bonus video content. And recently we were joined by Cal Newport. He is an author, he is an academic, he's so smart, and I love talking to him. We were discussing his latest book, which is called Slow Productivity. And today we're highlighting the part of the interview where Cal discusses how to work at your own natural pace. What I want to remind you is that if you join Jill on Money Live now for $35, not only will you get the next 4 webinars, but you'll be able to watch the back catalog, including this one with Cal. Okay, enough of the sales job. Right now, here is more of our interview with Cal Newport. The next part of slow productivity is working at a natural pace. I know what you're saying, which is like if you're working weird nights but there are a lot of people I know who would much prefer to have the control over the time when they get their work done. So the natural pace doesn't mean 9 to 5. It means what's natural to you.
What's natural to human being, right? So the thing that I think is unnatural, and there's really 2 aspects to it, but the first thing is saying what's unnatural is the idea of working full intensity every day, all year round. Mm-hmm. This is actually unnatural. Humans are used to having much more variation on different time scales. Some days busier than others, some months busier than others. The winter is really quiet, but the fall is really active. So we have a lot of variation of intensity, historically speaking, at different time scales. And that was really the case until mills and factories. And that was really the first time in human history we said, what'll happen if we just work as hard as we can all day long and just do this all year round? This is very difficult for humans. Of course, like the conditions were intolerable. We had to invent labor unions and regulatory frameworks to try to make that style of work something that was sustainable. But in knowledge work, we've just directly borrowed that. Like, yeah, there should be no variation. Just work is when you work, pseudo productivity. Activity is better than less. So why would we ever want to dial back? A slow day is an unproductive day. A slow season is an unproductive season. So we borrowed the factory model in knowledge work. And I actually argue if you study people who produce cool stuff with their brains, historically speaking, they had a lot more variation. And we're much more wired for that. It makes work much more sustainable.
I love that because I think I've told you this in the past. And by the way, everyone who is watching and listening, Cal transformed me and Mark in one of our conversations just about sort of giving ourselves freedom to say, you don't have to respond to every email. You have to set expectations. So listen to this advice very well. I think the idea of giving yourself a break and giving your brain a break and doing different things, I have seen it personally. I watch people who are in the grind of a news cycle, and when you're in the middle of that all the time without a break, that is when I see the highest level of burnout. Whereas I do feel like every day is quite different for me. Now, no, I do not own my life between 6 and 9 a.m. most mornings. I get that. Like that, I give up. But during the day, if I want to go out for an hour and a half walk with the girls, with the puppies, I'm happy to do that. And I think I'm very clear about when I do need a break. Mostly when Mark says you need a break.
Because I can tell.
Yeah. Yes, he does. He's good because that's a good partnership because he'll say to me, like, you need a long weekend. Stop now. Like, just stop.
And notice, by the way, when you study these historical case studies, natural pace has breaks. It also has high intensity.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think is something that is probably flawed in some of the current critiques of knowledge work, which is essentially personifies the hard effort in any instance as somehow being pathological. But no, historically, we have huge intensity, right? I mean, we're about to throw the spear at the mammoth. It's like super intense. But then there's the midday sun where we're just resting because it's too hot to be out there hunting in the first place. So it's like you look at movie directors, I think are a great example. When they're actually directing the movie, it's incredibly intense. It's very long days, but then there's 2 years in between the movies, right? So it's really intense. And then they sort of come down from that intensity. James Cameron has his giant compound in New Zealand they disappear to or what have you. And then they come back and get really intense into it. So I think this is more natural. Go super intense at some points, be way less intense at others, sometimes in between. That type of variation is way more natural. than being like pretty intense all day long or trying to be like all the way on, all out. That just doesn't work. You do that for what, a year, maybe.
It's exhausting.
You're going to have a breakdown.
Is that what you do with your books, Cal? Very intense and then take an extended break?
No, well, maybe book tours, book writing. I just always write. This is what I do I'm always writing. And all that changes is where I'm aiming it, right? So maybe I'm doing more New Yorker over here. And now that's turned more to a book for a while. My whole theory of writing is if you never stop doing it, it won't be so bad. You don't build it up like, oh my God, it's almost time to write a book. So I just never stop writing. I just aim that hose at different buckets, and I fill a lot of buckets over time.
If you want to learn more about Cal Newport, just go to his website, calnewport.com. If you want to buy the book, just go to wherever you buy your books. Don't forget, all of our content lives at jillonmoney.com. Don't forget, you can subscribe to this podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your favorite shows. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen, and put your hands, metaphorically, maybe physically, on someone's back. Change your work, change your wealth, change your life. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.